See, no matter whether you have chosen Python or whether you have chosen Java, the following steps apply equally. So whenever you choose any language, the first thing is you will prepare the syntax, right? So as long as we are under normal preparatory practices, what usually happens here is that most often we do forget the syntax. We google and we understand the syntax, we correct it, we work on IDs, we get some errors, we debug it, we solve it. But for a contest like InfyTQ, when you're working on hands-on coding problems, the time you get is very short. So you have to be very much accurate when you're writing your code. So you cannot afford to make syntactic errors then debug it. Maybe sometimes you might experience a very poor internet, or already you are stressed and you cannot expect that you make some errors. You are making some very silly errors, especially syntactic errors. So this is complete a no go. So what you'll do, you will need to practice the syntax well. So you practice to an extent where you need not refer any cheat sheet, or you need not refer any documentation for the purpose of syntax, right? So for both Python and Java, you will make sure that you will perfectly have a good proficiency in writing the syntax, right? So to practice syntax, what you will do? What should you do to practice syntax? To practice syntax, I usually recommend you to first go through the W3 schools content, right? So for example, if I want you to show the W3 contents for Python, go to this Python W3 school / Python. This is the best. The most important way where you can practice here is go to the end of this left navigation sidebar. You will find two sections: Python examples and exercise. If you feel you are already comfortable with Python syntax, I advise you to go through this Python exercises. So let me open it in a new window. So this is something you will be thrown at, and here when you click on start Python exercises, it tests your ability to type the Python syntax without referring to any of this available documentation. So it usually has 95 exercises. I highly recommend you to complete this series in all. You will understand which and what part of Python syntax you are poor at, and how you can build a proficiency so that you won't make mistakes in syntax. So I highly recommend that you go through this. For example, Python comments, variables, data types, strings, numbers. Go through this will be very helpful. Like we had it for Python, we also have it for Java. So the W3 schools Java. So if your chosen language is Java, then make sure you do the same thing. Like scroll down to the end of the sidebar, you see Java exercises, go through it and practice and complete all the series. At the same time, since the InfyTQ focuses on Java, Python, and it also has an SQL, it concentrates much on SQL when it comes to DBMS section. So I recommend that you also go through the basic SQL syntax and the basic SQL exercises. This is something very helpful. It would be very helpful, right? So now that you will do some preparatory syntax preparation, what is the second thing you have to do? Is the second thing you have to do whenever you are practicing preparing for this InfyTQ is to make sure there are some language fundamentals. I mean, when I'm saying language fundamentals, it applies to both Python and both Java as well. So what do I exactly mean by language fundamentals and built-in utilities, right? I think I can also write as built-in utilities, right? Why is this language utilities and language fundamentals have to be practiced? So I'll tell you what exactly it is. So when you talk about language utilities and language fundamentals, what I mainly include in this is all these languages, whether it could be a Python or Java. For example, it could be your Python or it could be your Java. What you need to do is, the first thing here is that you will make sure all string manipulation related methods and functions which you have in this language, you will have a very good hands-on on any string related methods. For example, most of the problems in InfyTQ hands-on session, they are always surely out of two, there's a very high likelihood that you will always have one string based problem, and this problem could ask you whether like some substring, find some substring, find some pattern in the string, or find the count of characters. So make sure you are very well versed with the string functions in the both the languages, whatever language which you choose. So the string functions you need to remember here, right? I usually discourage to remembering functions, but for a contest like InfyTQ, where you cannot switch your browser, where you cannot take a reference of any documentation, it's very important that you remember some of the very basic string functions like string length, like reversing a string, or for example getting a character specifically at that string, lot of string related functions. So make sure every string related functionalities you always have a good hands on when it comes to language fundamentals. So the first thing was string related, and the second here is related to array, right? So I'm calling it an array. In Python these are usually referred as lists, and in Java I think they are simple arrays. So you take int array, so in Java they are arrays. So apart from string related functionalities, you also be very well aware of array related functionalities, because most of the times you need to traverse across array, you need to see the length of array, you need to see if the array contains null or not, you want to initialize array with all these some specific values. So why I'm saying is that if you are very well aware of these concepts, you won't spend time during actual session where you will not think of how to create array, how to initialize. So your very crucial time is saved, and more the time you spend on designing the logic, higher the likelihood of clearing the problem. More the time you spend on writing syntax, figuring out functions, figuring out that, then lesser the chances that you will successfully crack the problem in first run go, right? So what, as I said, string related functions, array manipulations, and after that one of the very crucial thing is the collections frameworks of these languages. So when I say collection frameworks in these languages, I especially talk about Python collections, where you know what is deq class, order dictionary. In Java, uh, array list, your sets, and your built-in sorting and searching algorithms. So remember, most problems require you to do sort and search, and instead of writing your own algorithm, it's always advantage that if you can use the built-in searching and sorting function, then that's always a big advantage for you. So you need to remember this built-in collection framework. Remember, both Python and Java both have a collection framework. So all the classes within that and all the utility functions within that, it would be better if you can remember them on top of your head, so that you need not spend time in writing a complex syntax for writing your own sorting or searching. So this is the third very important thing you need to remember when it comes to language fundamentals and utility functions. And after this, you need to be very well aware about the data structures available in these languages. So when I say data structures, I am talking about built-in functions. Rather than built-in functions, sorry, I meant to talk about built-in data structures. Right? What do you mean by built-in? In Python, we have a list, right? We have tuples. We have a dictionary. Right, at the same time in Java we have hash map. I think usually this is a part of collection, but I would specifically ask you to run this tree list. I think we have a tree set, hash map, list. We have a lot of other very complex built-in data structures, and I want you to prepare this with specifically related to the complexities like O of n, n log n. So sometimes it helps you a lot. But as I said, better you prepare a good hands-on on collections. That would be enough for this InfyTQ. But as and when you go on advanced, then you need to specifically start looking at the available built-in data structures in those languages. And after that, the less importance, but with slight likelihood, you may need to even find the regular expression libraries in these languages. So what are this? So these are regular expressions. See, this is a least importance, but still, if you feel you already know all that I have discussed this earlier, is you are very well perfect, I advise you to go with this, because in addition to that, you can take it as a plus, how to handle with regular expression in Python and Java. Okay. So these are basic language fundamentals, as I said. And the first one which we saw was to syntax, second one practice this fundamental utility functions, and third one is you need to make a very smart practice, right? You need a practice. Instead of saying just you need a practice, you need a smart practice. What do you mean by smart practice? See, most of you are very almost advised like you have to practice 100 problems you will solve, you have to practice 200 problems you will solve, you have to practice. No, that's wrong. What I say is that instead of practicing 300 problems, if you practice 30 problems in a smart way, this is enough. You did not go for 300 problems. So how do you get this? So what do you mean by smart practice? I say that. So when you are preparing the syntax and when you are preparing the language utilities, what I want is when you're practicing some problem, maybe you are practicing problem 1, you need to apply whatever you have learned in these 2 steps, the language, and the third step which I have said, the collections for these problems. So try to apply this, try to use as much as possible your built-in functions. That would save your time, right? So in your smart practice, whatever the concepts which I told you from 1 to 3, whatever you learned in that, you need to apply for problem by problem. And when I say smart problem, you will choose a problem, 30 such problems, you will choose 30 such problems which you are well studied. You might ask your some faculty, ask your trainer, ask your the course instructor who's giving you training, or from whom you have purchased any training, or if a site somewhere you have, ask for some problems with them. Don't blindly take up problems and just practice them. Take these problems. These 30 problems should be well designed. So when you solve problem 1 here, whatever you learnt here, those should be used in problem number 2. Maybe in problem number 1, while solving, you learnt a very efficient way to reverse a string, right? So you make sure in coming 30 problems, wherever you require to reverse a string in a smart way, you need to apply the same which you learnt in problem 1. So it's like looking at 30 problems in all. So what I mean to say is that you have solved problem 1, you are solving one problem. For each problem you keep on maintaining a 2, maybe you can maintain a notes. You can see that what new thing you have learned and what mistakes you have made, right? For every problem you keep this register. See what new thing you have learned, what new way of building logic you have learned, what new syntactic feature you have learned, what new built-in function you have learned. Keep a track of that. As I said, what are you saying? First, what new syntactic feature you have learned. Second, what new built-in functions you are able to use and you could solve it better. What new collection framework which you have used in that, or something new whatever you have used here, or what was the new thing in a logic which you have learnt in this. So for every problem you keep on maintaining that. At the same time you also maintain a track of what major mistake you have done. Remember, when you're solving that, it's not that every time you'll get it run on first run, right? In some cases, 7 will out of 10 you will pass. Figure out why these 3 cases did not work. What was the mistake which I have done? Note down these mistakes. Whether it was syntax or whether it is an improper uses of built-in function, right? Sometimes we know built-in functions, but we do not know how many parameter it takes and how much it returns. So maybe due to invalid return variable, you have made a mistake. So keep a list of mistakes as well. And when you're solving problem number 2, make sure that you are avoiding these mistakes. Do not make the mistakes which you have made while solving problem 1. And if you keep this strategy to solve, I think 30 problems will be enough. So for each of these 30 problems, maintain this: what new you are learning and what mistakes you are making. So at the end of these 30 problems, this mistake should be almost negligible or zero mistakes. And the new learning things what you are learning should be more and more. If you keep on this style of practice, that will definitely help you being a more confident in attempting the hands-on session, right? So in this channel, like coming forth, I will try to solve some problems on HackerRank, LeetCode, and some on other sites where I will be solving by keeping you this concept. So we will keep maintaining what new we have learned, what new mistakes we have been making. So I'll see as if I am solving the problems as a novice developer. So what are the mistakes which we will be doing in a further series of lectures, which I will be putting in this on the same channel. You can observe that, you can watch it at your own pace. So make sure that you do a smart practice. So now if you ask me, sir, if I do not get 30 problems, let us suppose I said 30 problems, if you are not getting that, what's the solution? Who will give you? I'll try to make the list of 30 problems and I'll post it as a YouTube post here. But as a good thing to start with, I highly recommend that on a HackerRank we have a Python preparation series. Through this series, I would highly recommend that you complete all these problems on your own pace. Try to solve this. And if you have any problems, you can get in touch with me on this as a comment for this video, or I'll see if I can create some Telegram group or some kind of Discord server where we can connect and where we can discuss your problems on these problems. And at the same time, I will be releasing few further lectures where I will be solving these problems for you. Some of the problems, basic problems, and some of the very tricky problems. If some problem demands a tricky discussion, we will be solving that. So to start with, you can practice all these Python problems in this Python series. It also has a Java series, so all those who have preferred to use Java, they can go through that and they can solve this problem. This gives you very best and most time-tested pattern analysis. I have seen a lot of my students cracking the InfyTQ by going through this. At the same time, it might be a little overkill, but still, if you can prepare for this SQL series on the HackerRank, this will help you prepare to almost 70 to 80% preparation is done, right? So this should be the preparation strategy, and whatever you do beyond this, that's always a goal. So let us summarize what I said, that what we were summarizing, that the first thing is smart practice. I want you to do smart practice. How do you do this smart practice? As I said, first, revisit the syntax. Do not make a syntactic errors. That should be your first objective. Second, try to use as much as built-in functions. So structure your logic so that they can work and rely on built-in functions more. Third thing, try to have a good hands-on on collections frameworks of these languages. And what's the fourth one? String manipulation. And fifth one, the array manipulation should be very quick. Like you should be ready with some of the small code snippets. Like, okay, I want to divide an array into 2 parts. What should be the logic? I want to traverse array in reverse order. What should be the logic? I want to split the string into 5 parts. What should be the logic? So every string manipulation and array manipulation, when I'm saying array, it includes both 1D, 2D, and even 3D. First give preference to 1D array manipulation, then 2D array manipulation, 3D array manipulation. Do the smart practice for both your .py and .java. And for this, what you will rely on? You will rely on these 3 exercises, on Python exercises or the Java exercises and SQL exercises from W3 schools. Once you are done with that, you will further try to solve the problems from this HackerRank series, either Python or Java, and at the same time, once you are done with this, then I would recommend that you go to SQL, without which I would discourage you not to directly jump to SQL, right? So smart practice, the smart practice is very much needed. Fine? Yes. Okay, so I think that's it for this some introductory session. Further updates, further videos I'll keep posting on this same channel. So you can subscribe if you want to get notified. I think that should be fine for this. Okay, so if anything else, any questions or anything else you want, then you want to go with at, you can put it as a comment for this video, and I'll be sharing all these links. So all these links I will be sharing in the description. So check the description. So these links I'll be putting in the description. So you will get a direct links to this web pages which we have discussed. And along with that, I have one more video which I have already part of this channel. So solving coding questions. You can go through that. That would be the second part after watching this video. That will also give you a good overview of how to approach solving a problem for competitive contest like InfyTQ or some another event like CodeVita or other events. Alright. So that's it.